Alright. We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Welcome, youth baseball coaches. Coach Bo here. We got part 2 of the interview with Coach Adam Sarancik. Adam dives into how he teaches hitting at practice, and he also dives into how he coaches up his fielders during practice. So this is part 2 of 2. Quick intro. I am actually on the road this week over in the Fresno, California area. Talk about some good baseball. The Central Valley of California is loaded up and down with great baseball. It's a low-key hotbed for baseball talent. Great teams, great players, great programs and organizations, great high school programs, Fresno, Clovis area, all the way up and down, Sacramento. With that said, spending time here with the family, my wife's family's from this area, and who doesn't like some 60-degree weather at the end of December? Definitely this SoCal guy does. Speaking of a little colder winter weather, Boise State plays tonight as this goes live. If you get a chance, listen closely to Coach Danielson. I brought him up a couple weeks ago on the podcast. He's an up-and-coming all-star, really gets it on all the levels. While he's only been a head coach for a year and a half now, from what I've seen, watching him closely, he coaches exactly how we want to coach. So that game, Boise State, Penn State, comes on tonight as this podcast goes live. If you get a chance, try to listen in on Coach Danielson and watch how he does his thing. And with that said, let's get into the interview. And hitting fundamentals. Position and hitting fundamentals we got next year in the article. Want to go ahead and break that down for us, because I know there's a lot of coaches want to talk hitting, and hitting's a big part of the game.
Yeah, positioning and hitting fundamentals, I think coaches have drills for. They have fielding drills, they have hitting drills. They're jumping to step 5 in the teaching process, not step 1. So tip number 1 is follow the 6-step teaching process. And again, if you're not familiar with it, let's just say for fielding, Lou Colon, C-O-L-O-N, Lou Colon. Go on YouTube, put Lou Colon infield. He's got 40, 50 videos on there. You will see how he breaks down teaching, say, fielding for an infielder, starting with dry mechanics, the position of the body and the hand in fielding a baseball. And then he will put the glove on after that. He'll start with no glove, ball, and he'll just work on body position. And he'll go from stationary to gentle movement with no glove. All right. And then those are the first 2, stationary, dry mechanics with movement. Then he'll put the glove on and introduce the ball, and he'll start stationary, and then he'll go easy, comfortable movement. And then he'll work up to, more game-like movement. So those are steps 3, 4, and 5. And then step 6 is all of that with game speed, game intensity, and competition. Okay. So when you hit a ground ball, that's step 5. When you hit a fly ball, that's step 5. If you haven't trained them how to move their body in the athleticism part of training, as we talked before, they're never going to get the ball in a coordinated manner, in a timely manner, and the best mechanics or fundamentals mechanics in the world are not going to do them any good. So understand the 6-step teaching process, know what it is, know how to teach it. Let's just say at the youth level, a very young youth level, because I know most of your listeners are youth coaches. What I see is they set up 3 tee stations, for example, 3 tees, 3 nets, at a very basic level, and they'll have players hit the ball off the tee. And yet, there's no discussion of, or no process to, let's just have station 1 work on gripping the bat properly, okay? And say, judging how far to stay away from, how to judge how far to be away from the tee, all right? Let's have step number 2, station number 2, working on the position of the body and the hands and arms. Remember, coaches, chase 1 rabbit at a time. You chase 2, they both get away, right? So 1 station, 1 go or no go principle. If they do it right, go. If they need some adjustment, adjust it. All right. It's a go, no go system. Whether you're there or a teammate's there, you're working on one thing at that station, and it's a go or no go system. So grip and basic stance in station 1, posture and where to hold your hands and arms in station 2, and station 3, how to make a stride, some kind of weight transfer process. And then station 4 is something where you actually get to compete in a game. So if you've taken station 1, 2, and 3 seriously, reward them with the ability to hit a ball off a tee with no net. And now you're trying to hit a line drive, say how many line drives you can hit out of 5 or how far you can hit the ball. Make it fun give them a reward for taking stations 1, 2, and 3. But if they don't do 1, 2, or 3 well, have them go back again. Have them go back again. Use the 6-step teaching process and don't just lump everybody into and break it down so that they're working on one thing at a time, and don't rush them into the next step before they've mastered or at least gotten somewhat proficient, age-appropriate proficiency at the step before. They're only going to get frustrated. They're only going to develop bad habits, okay? Number 2, use things to make it fun and to appeal to the other learning modalities to assist in your training of building and hitting fundamentals. So if you watch the Luke Cologne videos, you'll see he uses speed ladders, he'll use discs, he'll use cones, he'll use hexagons, he'll use hurdles, he'll use bands, training gloves, weighted balls, all of these things. Same thing at hitting. You can use weighted balls, you can hit tires, you can hit off of balance beams. You can do a lot of things to help players learn in other ways, visually and kinesthetically, what you're trying to teach them, okay? You can't just tell them, hey, you need to stay in balance when you swing. Well, to a kinesthetic visual learner, that's not going to help. Just telling them be balanced, stride to balance. That's not going to help. So use these other training aids to assist the process. 3, here's a huge, huge missed opportunity for coaches. Do the drills with your players. Have parents roll the balls, hit the balls, feed the balls, whatever. Don't have them coach, but have them take the admin part and the administering part out of it. So that'll allow you to go demonstrate, stand next to your players when you're teaching fielding. Don't just have a coach hand you a ball out of a bucket so that you throw it up and hit them a ground ball. Have somebody else do that. Go out there and actually show them how to field the baseball or catch the fly ball or hit the ball. Secondly, it's going to show the kids how much you love the game and how much fun you think it is, all right? The most important thing you can do in a practice is to create a vibe of fun and enthusiasm and love and passion for the game, and more importantly, for your players. But you need to show them that. You can't do that if you're just sitting there hitting balls all the time. Go out there, field fly balls. Go out there and field ground balls. Show them how it should be done. Too many youth coaches are just hitting balls to their players, okay? At the high school level, invite your youth coaches to do that. Invite your youth coaches to hit balls, throw balls, feed balls, so they can watch you coach. That's how they learn to be better coaches. Invite your youth coaches to come and be those guys that do all the stuff that would free you up to actually go and coach, all right? It's going to free you up and it's going to teach them how to coach. All right. Multitask. And this is a whole podcast on its own. If you have a line, you have a design flaw in your practice plan. You cannot have a line. At most, 2 or 3 players at a station. You need to learn how to do 2-in-1s. High school and college coach knows you don't hit balls to players at shortstop and have them throw it back to the coach. That's not how it works. They're fielding a ball and doing a double play feed to second base. You're hitting a ball to the third baseman. Another coach is hitting a ball to third baseman. He's throwing to first. You're working at least 2 things at all times. What's an example of a 3-in-1? You've got 3 pitchers, 3 catchers, and all your infielders working at the same time. All right? What are they working on? If they're working on picks, pitcher closest to third base is working on third base picks. The one in the middle is working on second base picks. The one on first base side is working on first base picks. What do the catchers and pitchers can work on? The pitcher and catcher and third baseman are working on bunts on the third base side. The middle pitcher and catcher are working on bunts to second base, throws to second base. The pitcher on the first base side, the first baseman and the catcher on the first base side are working on bunts on the first base side. All 3 things going on at all 3 times, the same time, and after 5 reps, you're rotating, all right? So you've got to learn to do 2-in-1s, 3-in-1s. You don't just hit fly balls. Most coaches nowadays are doing a pretty good job with at least working on priority, 2 guys going at the same time. They don't work on shadowing. They don't work on throwing to a relay person, and they don't work on throws to a catcher who's working on tags. You shouldn't just hit fly balls. You've got 2 players. One is calling for it, getting priority. The other one is shadowing. The ball is caught, is thrown to a relay person who's working on relay mechanics, and that person is throwing to a catcher who's working on tag mechanics. All of that needs to be going on at the same time. When we're hitting, we don't shag balls when we're hitting, except for safety. We've got base runners. We are treating every ball hit as if it was a game situation, and we're making a play on every ball. No ball hit to the outfield touches the ground in the air. No ball hit to the infield isn't thrown somewhere. And base runners are out there working on base running mechanics. They all know what they're working on. Ground ball rule at second base, contact rule at third base, down angles, whatever. We are working on base running at the same time, okay? We shag at the end of the round, or guess what? We get parents and or their kids to shag balls into foul territory. We don't have players do it. We get them to shag balls that get past the outfielders. We don't have players do it. We are involved in baseball stuff 100% of the time. And again, 5, don't have the players land. So number 1 was follow the 6-step teaching process. Number 2, use training aids. Number 3, do the skills with your players. Number 4, multitask. And number 5 is actually don't have your players line up to anything more other than huge mistake for position fundamentals is players field a ball, whether it's a ground ball or fly ball, one at a time. Don't do that. Have them field 3 to 5 balls in a row because it's that repetition, that immediate repetition that'll teach them the skill. If we're going to keep everybody active all the time, Coach Adam, what are the other guys, the other guy or two at the station, what are they going to be doing? Well, guess what? They're working on the footwork that they're going to need to use when they get up to field the ball, or they're working staying infielders on double play feeds. They are doing something. They are not just standing and talking and watching. They are doing something to improve their skills or to get ready to be the guy that's going to take the 3 to 5 reps. That's my 5 tips on position and hitting fundamentals.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Pitchers and catchers. We know this is such a pivotal part of the game. Pitchers and catchers and bullpens.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this here?
Yeah, boy, I watch what goes on at youth baseball games and in practices, and I'm shocked that when the pitcher gets in the game and things don't go well, the coaches are surprised. And it's like, well, what do you mean they're surprised? Did you see what went on in the bullpen? First of all, sometimes they just send a pitcher and catcher to the bullpen. There's no coach. I would think that would be basic. If you want to prepare the pitcher to pitch and the catcher to catch, send a coach down there, and not just any old coach, somebody that actually knows pitching and catching. So there's a whole preparation piece in this pitchers and catchers thing that I think is another huge missed opportunity. So let's start with tip number 1. Again, make sure that these players are properly prepared to pitch. First, pitching starts in flat ground throwing and receiving. If they didn't take their flat ground throwing and receiving seriously with good mechanics, accurate throws, pitching's not going to go well. Pitching off a mound is more difficult than pitching off flat ground. It's more stressful for their arm too. So you better have had them take and every day, have them take their throwing and receiving progression seriously, or what they do on the mound is not going to go well. Make sure that they are properly prepared and onboarded to pitch and throw. They've done their arm care routine, okay? They're not just throw to warm up. We warm up to throw. Make sure that they've done what they need to do to get their arms ready, their rotator cuffs primed, neurological system primed to pitch. So we got to take care of them first. Second tip would be coach pitchers and catchers at the same time. I see so many times where the coach is coaching the pitcher on how to, whatever the coach thinks the pitcher needs to do to pitch better. They're not saying anything to the catcher. That's valuable time. Your catcher is a huge piece to your success, as we all know. This is the time to start coaching them, okay? So, for example, if I start my pitchers out, if they're going to start an inning with them pitching out of the stretch, and then I have them go to their windup after that, because when they start the game, they're going to start it out of the windup. If they're coming in relief, I may have them throw out of their windup first in the bullpen, then out of the stretch because they may have runners on. But anyway, when they're throwing out of the windup, the catchers need to be working on their no runners on position, and at a minimum, their process of target, relax, receive. In other words, how to receive the ball. They give a target, relax their glove, and then their receiving mechanics, okay? They can work on how to, make sure that they're sticking the ball, not necessarily framing and dragging. We don't do that, but how to make sure that they're receiving properly. Signal calling. How are we calling signals? No runners on. How are we calling them? Runners on. How are we calling them? All right. These are things that can be worked on when the pitcher's out of the windup. When the pitcher's out of the stretch, we've got a butt up number 2 position, runners on, unless you're down on one knee in a kickstand position, which a lot of high schoolers and even some middle schoolers are doing these days, but you've got a position with runners on, okay? So you're working on blocking. You're working on runners on position, which, by the way, if you want your catcher to have the ability to have the butt up, You're going to have to build some strength in your athleticism training. You're going to have to develop some ability to move their feet quickly and efficiently if you're going to ask them to rotate, to get their feet pointed in the direction you're going to throw, etc. But anyway, you're working on a number 2 position with runners on. You're working on blocking. You're working on transferring and footwork to bases. All of that can be coached and worked on in the bullpen. They need reps, lots and lots and lots of reps. So we miss valuable time to coach our catchers when we're in the bullpen working with our pitchers. Number 3, have your hitters stand in bullpens with your pitchers. It is tough for youth coaches to throw BP, strikes, off speed, different locations, whatever. I mean, hitters don't see enough in practice before they get up to the bat and in games what they're going to see in games, all right? So have them stand in not hitting, but they're going to stand in when they're working on their load and their stride, their timing. They're yelling out go, no go about whether they would swing at that pitch or not. You might even give them a situation. You've got a 2-0 the count. That pitch was a strike, but it wasn't in your zone, so that's a no-go. Or you can say yes or no. But have them stand in so they get to see different pitchers, different arm slots, different velocities, different spin axes, all that kind of stuff. If you're worried about them getting hit, couple things you could do. Put a glove on their front side hand so they have something to protect themselves. Have them stand behind a screen if you're worried about getting it, if you don't have pitchers with a lot of control. At a bare minimum, have them be an umpire. Stand behind the catcher if you've got a catcher that can catch and you're still. There's ways of protecting them. But have them stand in and get to see a lot of different types of pitches in different zones and take it seriously. Have the same intensity there in the bullpen that they're going to have in the game. Same posture, same go or no go mentality, green, red as we call it. Have them say go, no go. Have them think along with the situation. And then lastly, in this third tip, have the coaches stand in too. Coaches are so involved with their data and their technology that they don't remember that, pitching's a lot more than, say, what the radar gun says your pitcher's throwing. You can have a radar gun velocity of 90, but what we call their effectual velocity is 3 miles an hour higher because they're really good at disguising the pitch. The release point is tough to pick up. And so their effective velocity is actually faster than their actual. Stand in. You may think that, this pitcher doesn't throw very hard. I need to get this pitcher to throw harder. Actually, he throws plenty hard because he's very deceptive. He's able to change speeds, change locations. He's able to change spin axes, things like that. And it's like, no, this guy is doggone effective. So get away from your devices, stand in and take a look at your pitchers. You might learn a lot. Tip number 4 is don't overuse technology. I think technology is very, very helpful and useful. Don't get me wrong. However, a pitcher can't take to the mound his device. His mind is always with him. His device is not. I'll repeat that. A pitcher's mind is always with him. His device is not. Pitch selection, pitch sequencing, and by the way, stop calling pitches for your players. Teach them well. Comment between, if you have a mound conference or between innings, let them call their own games and just trust your training. Okay, stop calling all the pitches for them. And just have the pitcher have a huge self-esteem boost by, I not only won that game, I decided what I wanted to throw, all right? Pitch selection and sequencing, managing their emotions, overcoming adversity, mental mindfulness and focus, all of those things the pitcher has to do on their own without their devices and are just as important, if not more important, than grips and spin rate and spin axes and velocity and location. Don't overuse your technology. And then finally, as we talked before, monitor the number and intensity of the throws. These guys are playing in multiple teams, multiple leagues. They got their local league, their club team. They're playing other sports. They go in from shortstop to pitcher to shortstop. And remember, the arm doesn't know whether the player is pitching or not. They only know how well, how hard, how often, and how many balls the pitcher's throwing. One of the huge mistakes I see coaches make in youth baseball, especially at a very young age, they have them throw too much before they get on the mound. The guy just played shortstop for 4 innings, and he took balls between innings. He took balls before the game, and now he's going into the bullpen, and he's thrown another 30 pitches, all right? Youth players don't need 30 pitches to warm up, okay? They don't. And now they're going to throw another 6 when they come in. They've thrown the ball 70 times before they make the first pitch. Is it any wonder why their location, their velocity, and their command is not very good when they get on the mound? We need to pay a lot more attention for the health of the pitcher's arm and just for the quality of the pitcher's play and performance, how much they're throwing the ball. So the 5 tips again: take care of your pitcher's arms before they ever start pitching by how well they do their onboarding, shoulder integrity routines, as well as their throwing and receiving progression. Use the valuable time in the bullpen to coach pitchers and catchers. Have hitters stand in for the bullpen sessions. You stand in. Number 4, don't overuse technology. And number 5, carefully track not just the pitches they throw in the game. We all have systems and rules, league rules, about how many pitches a pitcher can throw in the game, but we don't monitor all the other throws that they're throwing outside of when they're pitching. Monitor those really carefully too. Okay.
Yeah, Coach, thank you. I remember standing in for many bullpens, many bullpens for many years. But I remember the first time I stood in for Jared Weaver. As many of the listeners know, Jared won 150 games in the major leagues. He was the college player of the year.
Yeah.
And I stood in, it was 9 a.m. and I get in there and I remember watching him again, when he was with the Padres late in his career and with the Angels later in his career, and he was throwing 85, 83, and guys were a little behind it. Well, part of that was because he had a good changeup and he could throw his breaking ball for strike. But a big part of it was what I found out years before, standing in on a bullpen as somebody I was a good hitter when I was growing up. I could hit the best pitchers all the way through up to the end of high school, and I was never behind pitches. I have good eyesight. And when he threw that first pitch, that was about 60% velocity for him. I didn't pick up that pitch until it was the plate because his arm slot, his arm angle, his hand size. And so, like you said, the velocity on Weaver was like, oh, he only throws this fast. Now in college, he threw hard, and in his beginning of his pro career, he threw pretty hard, but never one of the hardest throwers. But why were guys missing the middle on him at a much higher rate? Because his perceived velocity was much higher.
Much higher. Absolutely. So, it's really true for a lot of pitchers. And you know what? A lot of coaches change pitchers' mechanics because, well, you need to change this so you can throw harder. No. First of all, if you're following the motion or motor preference science coming out of University of Maryland, you better be careful, changing it before you realize what their motor preference is. But also, the key to his success is his arm slot. It's the way that he goes about delivering the baseball. It's very, very deceptive, very difficult to pick up. You're going to be doing this pitcher a huge disservice by changing his mechanics simply, to try to get another 2 or 3 miles of velo in him. That's, very good point. True.
Hey, Coach, I got a follow-up question, and this actually goes back one segment here to position and hitting fundamentals. So the 6-step teaching for coaching fundamentals. How do you vary the progressions when you're doing the 6-step teaching process? How do you vary the progressions of the 6-step teaching process based on player competency, current competency, and experience? So the experienced players, for example, the experienced players don't get bored because they have so much experience. They've shown that they're good. If you're going through a 6-step process and you have a player that's 2 years ahead because he's been playing since he was 3 and the rest of the guys and kids have started a year ago, how do you vary that 6-step process so the first 10 minutes of that drill are not boring and a waste of time for that experienced player, slowing down his growth? How do you vary that?
Great question. Because not all leagues are designed where they've put players of relative equal developmental ability on the same team. Little League, for example, you kind of have players within an age group, and they may not be divided into developmental ability levels, okay? And there's some advantages to that. It's kind of good to push the lower levels up to have to compete with somebody that's better than them. And you have a more skilled player who has to take accountability for being an example and a leader to the kids that aren't as developed. But like you said, even within, say, a level of relatively equal players, you've got players of different abilities, and you have an obligation as a coach, a teacher, it's true in the classroom too, to teach to the entire ability spectrum. You've got to raise the level of your lowest level players so they're a lot better, and you've got to raise the level of your best player. That's why so many of these guys go on to play on a club team because they're not really being pushed to a better level on their local community team. Okay, so they go out and play a club team. Here's some tips. Number 1, be able to recognize what this player isn't doing well. Don't get result oriented. In other words, this higher level guy, I guarantee you, he may throw hard, he may throw fairly accurately, but his footwork is not any good. He needs to spend a lot more time in the athleticism piece, getting better with his footwork, getting better moving his feet. Let me just give you an example, real quick example. At the very base level, fielding a ground ball, let's just say we want it fielded out front, not between our legs. And most coaches would say, field the ball with two hands if it's hit at you. And a lot of coaches are wrong saying 12-6. It actually should be 7-2 with our hands. And they want you to receive the ball and move to and through the ball to throw to first base, say from shortstop, okay? What an advanced coach knows, there are prep step, power step, chatter steps leading up to approaching the ball. And as you approach the ball, you are weighting your right foot with your left foot up on its heel, and you are weighting and unweighting and rocking into your front foot. So it's not just right, left, pick up, right, left, throw, but it's weighted right foot, left foot, toe up, rock into as you're feeling the ball, and that provides the momentum to the throw. Then the transfer is from the chest into a break with the firing of the hip and the rotation of the body and the follow through of the throw with the glove staying strong and not just flailing off. All of those little things go into fielding a ground ball. So you might have the one person that's just literally working on fielding the ball with a thighs parallel to the ground, flat back, and hands 7-2. You may have another one that really needs to work on a good solid prep step, power step, chatter steps, right, left pickup, right, left throw with all those little nuances in between. All right. So understanding, again, all of the things that go into the process is important. Number two, don't have a line. When you have a line, you have all those players of that different ability spectrum in the line. If you have stations of 2 or 3, now you can separate them by ability. You have your best players in this station over here working on more complicated things. You have your middle-level players here working on these things. It's the same thing in hitting. There are guys that just need to stay with the tee until they figure out the basic posture, balance, and weight transfer stuff. They're not ready for the ball to be moving very fast yet because they don't have those basics down. You have to earn your right to progress. So don't have lines, have stations. Finally, remember what I said about the last station being competition? So all those great ideas you had about gains and competing, make that as a goal for the players to get to, some of your better players. You say, yeah, but coach, that's not fun for the lower level players. They should have a game too. Okay, so the lower level game has how many line drives you can hit. The higher level games has you hitting off a machine, throwing this type of pitch at this velocity and curveballs. At fielding, we're going to actually have base runners involved at the last station, or we're going to have a stopwatch, or they're going to have to compete against one another. So make a competition that it's tougher, more difficult, more complicated in some way. That'll challenge your players. So make it more difficult. Those are different ways, but I think the basic thing is break it down. Don't put everybody together. Have stations and have those stations be progressed or regressed based on ability, and that'll make sure you're teaching to it.
Thanks for breaking that down, Coach. That was awesome. I love that breakdown that you gave. Thanks, Coach, for coming on. Coach Sarancik, I love how you explain it. I can tell you come prepared. I'm looking at your 4th book. I got it right here. Teacher, Role Model, Mentor, Lessons Learned from a Lifetime in Coaching. This is your 4th book, so you're not just a one and done. You went 4 for 4. I'll tell you what, and these books, Coach, the best place to get these books on your website,
they're
on Amazon.
So the 4th book is not linked to the other 3. So Coaching Champions for Life, the process of mentoring the person, athlete, and player is linked with takeaway quotes for Coaching Champions for Life. And that one's also linked to a ground ball to shortstop, how and why coaches see their game differently than anyone else. They were all written for different purposes. The first 2 kind of are companion books. The 3rd one was written really so coaches and parents could get on the same page about how coaches really see the game differently than maybe parents. So coaches that want to try to get parents to be more understanding of how and why they coach and how they see the game. That's a very entertaining story. But those 3 are linked on Amazon together. If you pull up one, you should pull up the other. The 4th book, a little bit of a misnomer in the title. It's not just Lessons Learned from a Lifetime in Coaching. Those are articles like the one we just went through on a lot of coaching methodology and process. There's a lot of valuable information there. It's not just coaching theory. There's a lot of practical application in the book. Every chapter in the book is actually a 3-page article having to do with basically how to coach better. There's a lot of really good practical application type of lessons in that book. It's not just stories. Yeah. I'm actually in the process of doing videos, short videos for Coaches Insider. Coaches Insider has 10 different sports that they publish information about, and they've published 20 some odd articles of mine now, over 140 times, but their bread and butter are videos, short 3 to 5 minute coaching videos. This is another resource that I've recommended to your listeners, coachesinsider.com. So I'm going to start preparing little short 3 to 5 minute videos covering these topics. If people don't have time to read books or don't really enjoy reading or don't want to take a long time to listen to a full podcast, they can listen to these 3 to 5 minute videos and get some great, useful, practical information out of it. And by the way, Coach Bo, let me give you a plug to your podcast too. Is one of the things I like about your podcast. You'll have a guest on like me and they'll talk for an hour and a half, but you'll also have short episodes too of 15 minutes, 18 minutes, things like that on more focused topics of the day that coaches can get in, out, and move on with their day too. And that versatility in your podcast is, I think, why it's so good and one of the best.
I think it's a good podcast, and having you on makes it even better. The Coaching Insider, it's funny you said that because I'm looking at my email inbox. This morning, I got at 5:51 a.m.
Yep.
It's called Catcher's Blocking Keys to Success with Coach Zach Stout. I get that email. I get those videos. I watch those videos. We didn't talk about that, but I actually watch all those little short videos, so I look forward to seeing you on video. That would just reach more because your message is outstanding. Coach, for coming on.
Yeah, the email you got from Coaches Insider this morning, the third installment in that email was my most recent article. Scroll down a little bit further and you'll see my most recent article on there as well.
Holistic coaching for the benefit of all players.
There you go. Just what we got done talking about, how to teach for the, what leagues and teams and coaches need to do to teach to the entire ability spectrum. Yeah.
Awesome. I hadn't opened the email. I saw it come in and I go, well, I'm going to, after we're done here, I was going to watch it while I eat lunch. I watch baseball coaching videos and baseball videos when I'm eating lunch every day. So funny. You're literally looking at your name on the email that came this morning.
Exactly.
We didn't talk about this at all.
Exactly.
Awesome. Is there anything you want to finish up with, Coach? You feel like we're good to go here?
Let's do it again. You know, I'll check in with you down the road and we'll stay in touch. I love following your podcast. Let's pick another topic down the road and let's do it again.
Awesome, Coach. You rock. Thanks so much for coming on, Adam. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, Coach.
Take care. All right, that wraps up part 2, our final part of a great interview with Coach Sarancik. Go check out his books, his articles. He's got some great stuff for us coaches. And wishing you all a happy New Year. Let's make 2025 awesome. Let's elevate our coaching game using the resources and information that we talk about here on this podcast and over at 8020baseball.com, along with anything else you come across and take in. Let's look to become a little bit better, 1% better every time we get out on the field in 2025. Until next week, let's take care of our health. Let's prioritize that health in 2025 so we can be there at our best for our family, for our close friends when they need us, and for our players. All right, y'all take care. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.